Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to part 2 of my new series, Forging a New Republic. So in the previous video, we talked about propertarianism. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. That's the first video in this series, and that one's titled "The Republic is Dead. God Bless the New Republic." And so, at any rate, today I want to talk about voters' rights. And we talked a little bit about propertarianism, and I want to also talk about the courts and the judicial system, which I kind of touched on in the previous video. But the bottom line is activist judges misinterpreting the somewhat vague and dated language of the Bill of Rights is what has led us down this road. It was, I think, some of the biggest decisions that we disagree with. As patriots, we disagree with some of the great decisions of the Supreme Court. I think that those were misinterpretations of the... I think the Constitution's been repeatedly misinterpreted. And so task number one is to rewrite the Bill of Rights, not trying to change them or reinvent the wheel, but rather an updated translation to take out the loopholes that got us where we're at. The idea that judges are the end-all, be-all decision makers needs to be revisited. There's got to be some... I know it's really hard to make a loop of accountability, but the judicial branch needs to be accountable. Too many judges have just thumbed their nose at the Constitution and got other judges to agree with them, and then unconstitutional laws like gun control and too many others to count. Those findings and judgments by judges who are clearly misinterpreting intentionally the Constitution so that they can affect the law. It's essentially the idea of judges becoming lawmakers instead of law interpreters. By misinterpreting intentionally and being an activist judge and making decisions based on your authority, and not being based on the Constitution, is what's allowed this socialist, globalist control grid to be put in place. Also, the idea of open universities where there is nobody answering. Okay, the communists took over our universities and our education system. From kindergarten and pre-K, from your daycare of your kids, all the way through their advanced degrees. These whole areas in many places are completely controlled by leftists. And we have to put some kind of system in place. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I am saying that has to be addressed. Because this backwards think, this total lack of any logic that's coming from leftists, this night is day, day is night, black is white, white is black, good is bad, bad is good, upside down, opposite day, topsy-turvy, upside down world is, it's a direct result of our university and education systems. So those have to be addressed. Taxation is theft. So this is why I still believe that all taxation ought to be leveled directly at landowners. And this is where I still agree with propertarianism, is that landowners should be the one carrying the taxes because they own the dirt. If you rent, you're already paying tax. You're paying tax to the landowner. Let the landowner pay tax to the country. Your land is accessed by roadways. So the people that really benefit the most from infrastructure are landowners. So, but either way, the tax system absolutely has to be overhauled, right? Clearly, we got to do something about our justice system. We can't just go back to cops covering for cops. We all understand, who are logical, that police can't police themselves. It's like putting the fox in charge of the hen house. He's going to, say that all foxes are invited for a feast. So you're going to have law enforcement accountability. And to some degree, the defund the police crowd have made some valid points. I do not know why cops are often called on to be referees in slap fights. Isn't there some lesser individual that can answer the call in that? I mean, can we just, instead of sending the police, can we just send a referee? You know, and if he has a problem and he needs help, he can call in the real police, you know? I'm not beyond that, but at the same time, the system is broken. That's how we got here. This is one of the things that the left has used as a handle to twist our country into a knot. So, where do we go from here? Voting rights. We no longer can allow for any kind of voter fraud. Electronic voting's got to be out. I've said this all along. One vote, one person. Dip your thumb in the blue ink, and that's it. If you have a blue thumb, you can't vote. If you don't have a blue thumb, you can vote if you can prove that you're a citizen or a landowner or whatever. I think there should be requirements to be a citizen. I don't know that citizenship should be offered to just anyone and everyone, that you should have to earn it by mandatory service. Okay, everyone should do a tour like in Israel, in the Israeli Defense Force, like in Switzerland. Everybody has to, you know, you get your basic education and then you do a term of service in the military. And that's a requirement. Learning the language, the primary language, should be a requirement. And, you know, immigration absolutely has to be completely stopped for a while until this is completely rebuilt. We do not need mass migration affecting the decision-making process through this. But it's going to get hairy here so bad that foreigners aren't going to want to come here, because America's soon to be the most dangerous place on earth. Wrap your mind around that. That before we can get to the end, we got to get through and survive. But if we show up on the backside and we do not have a plan, we do not have this argument already kind of hashed out, then the world will continue to burn while we figure out what the new government's going to look like. So changes will have to be made. You know, there are some out there that would say, Sage, this is treasonous. You're talking about, no, I'm talking about life after a disaster. Because this is what's happening to our country. It's a disaster. It's almost, well, it's beyond the control of the average man. So I'm not advocating the overthrow of the government. I'm saying the government's about to implode. It's going to get overrun by leftists. It's not equipped to handle this. There's going to be a fight. That's all beyond my control. And when the smoke clears, I'd like to have a plan in hand. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like someone to arise with a plan? Because I promise you this, if the devil's side wins, right, and the communists take over, they're going to have a plan. Planning, what is it? I'm trying to remember. Piss poor planning provides something. I don't know. How's that go? There's an old saying. I'm trying to remember the sayings of the old gray bearded men. Piss poor planning prevents. I'm not sure. Something about performance. The 5 P's or something. Does anyone remember that? Got to have a plan. You know, you can't just go in to this situation expecting to win in a short time either. And you can't expect to go back to the old system, because the old system created this. So we are where we are. And now is the time to have this conversation. Now is the time to weigh the options. Now is the time to paint pictures, cast vision, and try to figure out what we're going to do afterwards. Because if we lose, it won't matter. We'll all be dead anyway. So we need to have a plan for the winning. And we don't intend to lose, because I intend to go down swinging. And I know that many of you feel the same way. So leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think about the new republic, how it should look, who should have what power and authority. Do we keep the House of Representatives and the Senate? What happens if the country fragments? That'll be the future videos in this series. Reconstructing a republic is something that is going to take a tremendous amount of effort. Effort that it will be required to prevent us falling into total chaos and anarchy with no government. And we don't want to go the way of the Road Warrior or the Walking Dead, right? So, you know, they have a continuity of government in place, but that's just going to be another screaming voice amongst the 3 or 4 sides that will evolve as this thing starts to break down. So tell me what you think in the comments section below, and God bless the new republic.